As he placed the impossibly black crystal in his gauntlet, Reynardo had a sudden vision. Charred fields covered in dead ravens below a black sun.
Was it the time of the lost gods before the transcendent emperor? Was it the future? Feed souls, it whispered. Take the power. He could feel the stone's hunger for souls, its thirst for blood.
All right, I get it.
This was going to be interesting.
Reynardo checked to make sure his sword was still working. Yep.
Once you try it, you're hooked.
The ravens on Zenobia's island were no match for Reynardo. They screamed as the stones sucked out their souls. And with each death, he felt stronger. Take the power, the stone told him.
Hey, a workbench! He could try out his new bling.
What's there?
Reynardo had a lot of crafting materials. Now all he needed was a crafting bench. He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he?
you looking at? Oh, right. No one.
Zenobia was waiting for Reynardo. She was alone, confident as always. Fire danced at the tips of her claws.
Are you here to surrender? She seemed as cocksure as he felt. But she didn't know he had the stone. And I've missed you too, love. He chuckled.
She spotted the stone and bolted without another word.
A crafting bench. Reynardo wondered what he could make with it. Finally, Reynardo caught up to her. He had never seen her scared before. At school, she'd been the determined, brave one. Now her eyes were wide, frightened. He didn't like seeing her this way. "Kill her," whispered the stone. "You cannot win your rebellion without it." "Please." "No," said Zenobia. "Not that way." Oh, they had been so close once. Could he really feed her soul to his demonic gem? But if he spared her, he would not get the full power of the stone. Oh, how could he be the hero he wanted to be? Reynardo hesitated. Zenobia was his greatest enemy. She was the Emperor's daughter and his greatest general, and the single person Reynardo least wanted to remove from this world, especially that way. She was holding her arms out before her, hands fluttering, fending him off with hopeless urgency. Nope, she was weaving a spell. He couldn't move. "This thing is evil," she said.
She slid the Iblastone out of its slot in his gauntlet and slipped it into a bag.
"Maybe we can learn from it." She eyed him with a strange, wry, apologetic look. "I missed you too." And before he could move again, she was gone. Learn from the Iblastone? What did that mean? Would she take it to the palace or to the observatory on the Nexus? If she thought it was evil, she wouldn't want it in the palace.
And, after all, it was evil, wasn't it?
Maybe I can outrace her to the observatory, thought Reynardo. Cats can run faster, but foxes can run longer. Reynardo felt a little sick. Ever since Zenobia had taken the stone from him, he'd felt an ache that wouldn't go away. He missed it. He wanted it back. He needed it back. Why hadn't he killed her when he had the chance? She was the enemy. He hadn't even seen her in 14 years. Why had he hesitated? You're a sucker for an empowered woman. Reynardo kicked himself. Don't make that mistake again.
Reynardo hoped his mother wasn't watching.
That was always a rush. Zenobia thought the stone was evil. Was it?
Well, yes, but he still longed to have it back.
He'd felt so good killing ravens with it, and yet he'd felt unclean ever since he'd touched it. She confused him. She'd made him want to be a better fox, and then she'd abandoned him, never telling him she was the Emperor's daughter, never contacting him since. Well, who was she to tell him the stone was evil?
And while he was trying to recover the stone Zenobia had taken from him, the Imperial fleet was tightening its grip. He might fail to save the rebellion, and it would all be her fault. Reynardo felt a burst of outrage. Not only had she stolen his gem, she'd also stolen his scientists. Sure, they were neutral, but they had helped him discover what the Emperor was up to. They were supposed to be helping me, Reynardo thought. So unfair. This would be the perfect place for a tic-tac-toe board.
came back to him. He wondered what he'd remember next. The scientist's toes were pointing arcane instruments at the stone and looking at it through prisms and reflections.
Mine, said Reynardo as he took back the stone.
Well, we need it for science, croaked the toads. So he killed them. He felt better immediately. Smarter, too. I thought you'd never come for me, whispered the stone. Then, a far-speaker toad croaked, and something like Zenobia's voice.
Reynardo, leave the stone with the toads. It will swallow your soul. You'll kill everyone you love.
That did seem vaguely familiar, but Reynardo had an army to lead, an empire to bring down.
I know you can fight this thing.
Zenobia continued in the far-speaker's croak.
You let me live. You know how evil it is. It will destroy you, Reynardo. It will destroy everything you love.
He had tried to convince himself that this time he would control the Iblis stone. But he could feel his will becoming brittle.
She was right. He would get rid of it. Right? Now. Or now. He didn't really want to. I know. I'll go to the mountains, Reynardo thought. I'll find the strength to do it in the peace and quiet there. As the Farfarer landed at the foot of the mountains, Reynardo was surprised to find Lapino there. What are you doing here?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I was stowed away on an Imperial courier ship, dressed up as a combat nurse carrying a general's beak transplant.
This is not a great time, said Reynardo.
That's when you need your friends,
said Lapino. I just need some peace and quiet, said Reynardo, and grimly set out of the path. Reynardo wondered if it wasn't cheaper to build bridges and stairs. Reynardo told his friend how he had slaughtered the toads and how he had nearly slain Zenobia. A terrible burden, this Iblis stone, sympathized the rabbit. Yeah, but I need it. For the rebellion.
do you now? You know, you were a pretty fine fighter before you were wielding a demonic decoration.
Oddly,
The sword wasn't whispering at him to kill Lupino. Up ahead in the mountains, there was a peaceful spot. If he could rid himself of his burden anywhere, it was there.
Come on. Good fox. No waiting.
Go away. There had to be something useful in these things, didn't there? Look down, he thought. Reynardo thought he would make a difference, snatching the Ibla stone before the Emperor could get it. And it would destroy him. Zenobia and Lupino, they were both trying to save him. Peace. That was what he needed. So much for peace and quiet. There was Lupino. Again.
You're stronger than some dumb rock,
Lupino said.
Let's just bury it, and no one will ever find it again.
Reynardo could feel the spirit energy of all those dead ravens inside him, pecking away.
The rabbit was right.
He tore the Iblis stone from his gauntlet and threw it into the hole Lupino had dug. The stone was silent, probably sulking.
Now whoop those Imperials, said Lupino.
Are you coming?
Ah, no, I can't come with you. It's my old injury, you know. Recently, it's been acting up terrible. I'd be no use to you at all.
So Reynardo boarded the Farfarer alone. Reynardo felt lonely on board the Farfarer. How could his old friend Lupino, miraculously escaped from the Empire, leave him to face the final battle alone? Well, he'd abandoned Lupino before, hadn't he? It was only fair. And of course he felt lonely. He'd given up the Iblis stone and all the souls he fed it. Of course he felt alone. But he had done the right thing. It had been hard to do, but there was no better feeling than that. Zenobia would be so proud of him. The battle, alas, was not going well. He no longer had the stone, and he'd never gotten the core. Lupino wasn't with him, and he was up against Zenobia, out there somewhere, maneuvering the Emperor's forces. The rebels had been outnumbered from the start, and he still had that aching longing for the stone. But that is what it means to be a hero. He would fight his way to Zenobia. He would show her what he was capable of. Just him, with no diabolic accoutrements. He would win, no matter the odds.
The portal led right into the middle of the fleet. It was a glaring weakness in the defense.
Weird how portals never told you where they went to. I mean, they were killed and to put up a sign or something? There was an inscription on the platform. Balaleka lessons, with an address. Smashing things was fun.
Hey, good shoes. Not really. miracle. Reynardo fought his way to the Emperor's ship. He was exhausted, bleeding, but he'd found the strength to reject the stone. Zenobia came out of the ship. "Reynardo!" she shouted, and then she fell down and died. Lapino was behind her, wielding a sword that seemed to suck all the light out of the sun. "You idiot! You threw the stone away!" cried Lapino. "You said it was evil." "It hates sanctimonious prigs like you," laughed Lapino. "And we're having a grand old time." Reynardo turned and ran. But no matter where he ran, Lapino jumped in front of him until Reynardo was cornered. "That boy could hop. You wouldn't do this to an old friend, would you?" cried Reynardo. "You mean this?" said Lapino as he slid the sword into Reynardo's guts. Oh, damn it. He lost again, and died. But there was Burning Ubar behind him. He still had all his destinies ahead of him. But he'd learned another true thing. Lapino was a traitor. Reynardo had suspected there was something wrong with the mad rabbit. But now he knew there was malice behind his goofiness. He knew enough now, he thought. All these truths tumbling around each other in his head. There must be a way to puzzle the pieces together. If he used everything he knew, he could discover a new path to destiny. The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again, faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game-changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Reynardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage. Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces deep. And then, this Emperor's horrific sacrifices had brought it back to the surface. Reynardo wasn't exactly sure how to use the legendary weapon. But surely, there must be some way to do it without provoking another catastrophe. Had he, somehow, summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the Earth? It was more than Reynardo could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it.